What's going on YouTube? It is Repulse, back in another video. In today's video, we have another Chelsea news video. There was so much that kicked off in terms of outgoings already. It's pretty early on in the day. It's 1 p.m. where I am. Um, but yeah, there was so much. A lot of good news for Chelsea. Correspondingly, a lot of outgoings. Maybe a little bit of a sentimental exit in there, but there's so much to talk about. So I say let's just jump straight into it, beginning with Xavi Simons. Fabrizio said on his Twitter that Chelsea have always had the exits as priority before getting Xavi Simons deal done, while talks with the Red Bull Leipzig remain advanced. Borussia, João Felix, Ugochukwu, Dewsbury Hall, Guiu, more to follow soon as direction is clear. Xavi made it clear to Leipzig that he wants Chelsea. This is not really an update on how the Xavi Simons deal is going. It's more of where Chelsea's priority has been and why the deal hasn't advanced as of yet. Obviously, it looks like we've been focusing on outgoings, and we have done just that today. So, yeah, I do expect this deal to advance in the coming days because I do think the books are finally balanced, so we can finally go in for a player like Xavi Simons, who is going to cost a hefty fee of around 50 to 60 million pounds. So, yeah, I think we could expect this deal to advance sometime in the near future, and I do think we get a bomb butt in the coming days on Xavi Simons' deal. Maybe here we go, or maybe just initial fee submitted and clubs are in negotiations, then we get the deal wrapped up sometime soon. But yeah, we can expect Xavi Simons to become a Chelsea player sometime in the relatively near future due to the amount of outgoings we've had today. So really positive stuff on the deal. Obviously, it's not reporting on the deal, but things that are happening to facilitate the deal have all been positive. Um, so that's why this is in here, because it seems like Xavi Simons will become a Chelsea player sometime in the near future, which is a very positive thing because we all want him here. I know I do. I'm sure most, if not all, of Chelsea fans want Xavi Simons through the door as well. So, really, really positive negotiations are about to take place because of the business we've done today. And more, Fabrizio said, as I just said, he knows that fans want Xavi Simons right away, but calm down. I told you selling players will be the first step, and now Chelsea are getting lots of important money from sales. Chukwuemeka to Dortmund could also be done at any moment, which we will talk about later in this video. So yeah, seems like we could go in for Xavi Simons sometime soon, just because of the amount of outgoings we've had today and throughout the last week. And we still have to let go of Nkunku, Vega, Chilwell, Sterling, all those guys, as well as Chukwuemeka. But um, yeah, we did have a lot of money come into the club today. And on Garnacho and Xavi Simons, Sky Sports News that said that Chelsea are aiming to sign both before the transfer window closes. They're in talks to sign the two forwards, and discussions have been ongoing for some time. Um, we know the Xavi Simons deal has been activated for weeks. We know Alejandro Garnacho Chelsea have been in for since January apparently, but I guess went through these talks again in the summer, and we can expect Garnacho to come in later in the window for a cheap deal. Um, really, really good depth piece, I'd say. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want Garnacho to start, but I think he could be a very valuable depth piece if he does come into the club. Um, so yeah, positive on that front. Um, Garnacho and Xavi Simons seem like they will become Chelsea players at some point in this window. And that is thanks to all the outgoings. So yeah, really, really good news on that front. Obviously, we already had Jarrell Heights out through the door. I don't know if he's training with the squad today or not. Obviously, got announced yesterday, so I anticipate him training with the team today. Team's back at Cobham today. First training session since holiday. Saw Gittins come, saw Trev in the video, saw Pedro Neto, saw a lot of dudes. Enzo, Reese, Tossin, Gittins was in there too. So, yeah, really, really positive signs. Team is back at Cobham. Training is resumed as normal. So we have a week to prepare for Leverkusen and then AC Milan. So we can see how we train throughout that week and see how we look in the preseason friendlies. But we will also see if we can get Xavi Simons through the door before that happens, and then Alejandro Garnacho later in this window. Moving on to just solely on Alejandro Garnacho. I missed this yesterday in the video. Fabrizio said that Garnacho gave his total priority to Chelsea, and talks took place on the player side, negotiations on personal terms and stuff. But there's no negotiations yet with Manchester United, as the price will be key factor. Their valuation, we're not budging on our 30 million pound valuation. We'll see if Man United budge on theirs. I don't know what they value Garnacho at, but that's the most important part of this deal. Timing of the deal not expected to be imminent. Can take some time with Chelsea focused on outgoings plus Xavi Simons. More on today. Sky Sports Chef said that Manchester United are expecting formal offers for Alejandro Garnacho later in the window. United are aware of Chelsea's interest, and then Fabrizio backed that up, saying that Alejandro Garnacho is patiently waiting for Chelsea in the background. Clubs from Germany, Italy, and Saudi. But he wants Chelsea. He's waiting. Waiting for Chelsea to come in for him, basically. So, yeah, I appreciate him being keen on the move. I'm never gonna not open arms to someone that wants to be here and wants to, fight and become a Chelsea player. So fair play to him for that. Obviously, not one of my favorite players in the world. I'm not really that big of a Garnacho fan, but at the same time, I can understand that he's keen on the move. He's really pushing to become a Chelsea player, so can only support him in that move. And if he comes through the door, back him, and support him to the best of our abilities. So we'll see how that deal progresses. But I expect it to progress well. Just later in the window because I do expect Man United to budge because I do think they need funds to, facilitate bringing in Sheshko, Cunha, and Blemo. Yes, they already brought these players in besides Sheshko, but they're going to need money to balance the books, and I think Alejandro Garnacho will be a key part in that. So yeah, I expect United to budge on his price point later in the window, and I think that's what Chelsea are waiting for. So we can see if we advance on this deal later in this window. But moving on to Christopher Nkunku. Fabrizio posted earlier on today said that Christopher Nkunku is still planning to leave Chelsea this summer with the talks ongoing. I don't know what that means if talks are ongoing with other clubs or stuff, but he also said that Nico Jackson can leave before the end of the window in case of an important proposal. Follows Chelsea exit plan with Guiu and Broya done. Joao Felix official, Tyreek George and Sterling next. Although they weren't next, this is just the attackers list, which was backed up by Fabrizio saying that Chelsea are set to advance on attacking players' exits to bring in new signings. Obviously, the focus is on Xavi Simons and Alejandro Garnacho. Those are the bringing in new signings that they're talking, or Fabrizio's talking about. Christopher Nkunku, due to leave it talks on. I'm guessing that means with other clubs. Maybe Inter Milan are in for him. Um, Nicholas Jackson can leave in case of important proposal. Raheem Sterling is due to leave with other clubs keen. I'm interested to see who those are. Mark Guiu leaves to join Sunderland. Loan deal, obviously full salary covered, so some money off the books there. Maybe a loan fee or two in there as well. Joao Felix left for 50 million euros total fee from Al Nasser. And then Tyreek George can leave. German clubs on it. And then Armando Broya to Burnley on a permanent deal. No official, um, you know, amount of money that came in. No official bid, no official fee, I guess, was reported on Armando Broya. So I'm intrigued to see how much that was. But again, more on outgoings. Fabrizio said that Sterling will go, Jackson can go, and Kunku will go. George can go on a permanent. And what this means for Chelsea is they will be ready soon to attack new signings. Calm down. Obviously, Chelsea fans are really wanting the club to bring in Xavi Simons and go in for Alejandro Garnacho and bring these players in relatively quickly. But Fabrizio saying calm down, let the outgoings happen first, and then they will uh, go in for these new signings. Seems like we'll be ready soon, and that's why I say we can anticipate a bomba sometime in the coming days because we do have a lot of news today, and it is on this. Chelsea are completing 3 midfield sales agreements being sealed. Dewsbury Hall to Everton on a permanent deal, Leslie Ugochukwu to Burnley on a permanent deal, and then Carney Chukwuemeka to Borussia Dortmund on a permanent deal. All done for Ugochukwu to Burnley, deal advanced for Dewsbury Hall, and talks underway for Chukwuemeka. So we'll start with Ugochukwu, as David Ornstein says that Burnley reached an agreement with Chelsea to sign Leslie Ugochukwu. The 21-year-old is set to travel for a medical and complete permanent move from Chelsea to Burnley on a 5-year contract. The France Youth International significantly bolsters Scott Parker's options at number 6/8. Yeah, Ugochukwu is a great player with loads of potential. I think he will be very good at Burnley. Obviously, didn't have the best pathway at Chelsea. Went out on loan to Southampton last season. I expected him to go to Strasbourg, to be honest, just because he's French, but seems like he's headed off to Burnley. I do think this is a good move for him. I think he'll get game time pretty regularly. I think he's a good player with a good mental potential, really good ball winner, but can also finish as well. I'm thinking back to that friendly against Inter Milan where he scored the goal late in the game to make it 1-1. Yeah, it was decent under Pochettino. Didn't play too much. Obviously loaned out under Maresca, so wasn't really in the plans. And when you have, Santos coming back, you have Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo, and then you bring in Nasugo. Ugochukwu doesn't really have a spot in that pecking order, so he's due to leave the club, and it seems like Burnley were the team to reach an agreement with Chelsea. So yeah, wish him well. Obviously, pretty professional while he was here. One of those players that were obviously selling for a profit on the books. Had him for 2 years. We're selling him for a fee that will be talked about later. But yeah, Ugochukwu is out the door. I think he will be a good player for Burnley. I do think there's a very good player in there. I just think he needs to develop, and I think Burnley can be a good move to do that. And Fabrizio says that after Amanda Broya, Leslie Ugochukwu also leaves Chelsea and joins Burnley on a permanent deal. Ugochukwu has also accepted, I'm guessing, on the deal terms, on personal terms as well, as David Ornstein reports. Agreement done for both players as Chelsea going fast on outgoings and Dewsbury Hall to Everton next. So yeah, it seems like the deal is done. And Fabrizio on his Instagram said the official here we go. Burnley agreed to sign Ugochukwu from Chelsea on a permanent deal. Agreement for the midfielder at fee over £20 million as he's accepted the Burnley project, same as Armando Broya. Leslie has traveled for medical. Broya already did it, and Chelsea complete one more sale in the last 4 to 5 days. So, obviously, bring in Ugochukwu for I think £23 million. So seems like we might be able to get that money back, amortized and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, Ugochukwu does leave the club for more than we brought him in for. So really really good deal on that front. Really really happy to get the player out the door in a sense, just because we can rack up money and advance on other players due to the money we brought in for Ugochukwu. So positive note there. Again, wish him well in his career, but we're getting 20 million plus, so fair play to Chelsea on that front. And moving on, Leslie Ugochukwu was authorized for a medical at Burnley after a permanent deal was agreed with Chelsea. Both Armando Broya and Ugochukwu signed on a permanent deal, contracts to be signed and sealed this week. Here we go on Twitter, official. Um, Medical will happen. Ugochukwu will be announced sometime soon, but he's headed off to Burnley, and I expect him to succeed there. And I'm intrigued to see how Burnley do this season. Obviously, now have Broya and Ugochukwu, so let's see if they can make an impact in their fight for survival. Um, I don't really expect them to stay up, but we'll see. We'll track their progress and see how Ugochukwu and Broya perform. But yeah, those two deals are done. Fair play to Chelsea for getting those outgoings on. And one more outgoing is Kieran Dewsbury Hall. Fabrizio, with an exclusive, say that Everton submit official bid for KDH to join on a permanent deal from Chelsea. Club-to-club talks underway. Chelsea open to this option with discussions ongoing on terms with Everton. So yeah. Then, 3 hours later, Fabrizio with another exclusive says that Kieran Dewsbury Hall to Everton. Here we go. Permanent deal agreed with Chelsea and player side. Understand fee is worth 25 million fixed, plus add-ons up to 29 million pounds total package. KDH, Ugochukwu, and Chukwuemeka are all leaving Chelsea on permanent deal. On KDH, yes, I do love the player. Don't get me wrong. I think very very good professional, very very good player when he was at Chelsea. Got better throughout the season. Really good player in the Conference League. I'd say not really in terms of Chelsea standards, but again, really good in the Conference League. Did make an impact at the club, so fair play to him. Scored in uh, both the Conference League as well as the Club World Cup. So, fair play to KDH. Very good professional while he is here. Very good squad depth rotation guy. But again, when you have Santos coming back, when you have Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo, and then you have Xavi Simmons, Cole Palmer, Esteval right ahead, there's no really spot for KDH. Just to be quite frank, KDH was someone that would come on for Enzo, but now we have Santos to do that. So, just being left behind in the pecking order, I think he would want regular game time, and I think Chelsea would just want to cash in on the player. But ultimately, I think a lot of fans resonate with KDH. I think a lot of fans like KDH. I think many would like to say he could stay, do something here, just being a squad guy because he was perfectly fine doing that role. But if he wants regular game time, I understand. Heading to Everton's a perfect move for him, and Chelsea get a good amount of money for KDH. In the return as he heads over to Everton. So wish him well at Everton. I think that's a very good move for him. I think he'll play week in week out over there. Um, and yeah, I'll be interested to see how he does. I'll definitely be rooting him on because I do love the player. I think top professional while he was here. So fair play to him for that. And we'll see how he progresses over at Everton and see how they do this year because I think they've done tremendous business. So yeah, we'll see if they get Tyler Dibbling as well. But on the KDH front, wish him well, and I will definitely track his progress. But again, thank you for your service at Chelsea. Won't be forgotten. You won 2 trophies in the year you were here, and now you can move on and go play week in week out in Premier League football at Everton. So fair play to him for that, and we will see how he does. But again, wish him well. Moving on to Carney Chukwuemeka. Fabrizio earlier on today said that understand Borussia Dortmund have reactivated direct talks with Chelsea for Carney Chukwuemeka. Negotiations ongoing between the clubs to find a solution as Carney wants to move. Chelsea insists on a permanent transfer as they should. Tired of the loan deals for Carney Chukwuemeka, to be honest. Don't really think any of that's beneficial. Um, yeah, I don't really think a loan deal would be good for him again because at that time, um, sorry. Um, okay, excuse me, I'm back. Um, just tweaking out a little bit, but yeah, I think a permanent transfer would be good for Chukwuemeka. At the end of the day, tired of these loan deals just adding up and adding up. Obviously, he was out on loan at Borussia Dortmund, but now it's time to make it permanent, and I think that's the right thing to do after they held out for Gittins for so long. So, we got to hold out for Chukwuemeka for the money that we want, and more, if it allows me to. Um, Fabrizio an hour ago said that negotiations between Borussia Dortmund and Chelsea for Carney Chukwuemeka are for permanent move. Chelsea wants Borussia Dortmund. Chelsea had been clear since July. Permanent deal, no way for loan. And then there's more on the price tag. Chelsea had discussed a lower initial fee for Carney Chukwuemeka with lots of potential bonuses due to concerns from Dortmund over his injury history, says Nisar Cancella. Um, yeah, I think that's completely fair. Obviously, injuries are the reason that he got left out in the pecking order for Pochettino. That injury against West Ham, I believe, has really damaged his career. So I understand the concerns for Dortmund over his um, injury history. So I can understand a lower initial fee with a lot of bonuses, but um, I wonder what that initial fee will be. And I'm interested to see what those potential bonuses will be. Hopefully, we get more in a total package. Um, Maybe something like 20 plus 20 or something crazy like that, or 25 plus 15. But that was backed up by um, Philip Berger, is it? Or Berger, obviously, something like that. I can't remember. But he said that Chelsea have dropped their asking price for Chukwuemeka significantly, and there's movement between the clubs. Um, So yeah, I think obviously we're asking for 35 million pounds. I think it could be 25 million pounds plus a lot in add-ons. So we'll see how that Chukwuemeka deal does develop. But I think it could happen at any moment, and that was backed up by Fabrizio. He said realistically this deal could happen at any point in the day. So maybe there's a second news video with the Chukwuemeka. Here we go. To Borussia Dortmund, but interested to see the fee. Um, Obviously, we've already brought in at least 50 million pounds today for KDH and Ugochukwu. So, we'll see how much we bring in for Chukwuemeka and see how much money we've made just today. But we could pretty much already fund the Xavi Simons deal with the money we've made today. So, fair play to Chelsea for that. And we'll see how much we get for Chukwuemeka. And I expect that here we go to be sometime soon. Moving on to Tyreek George. Apparently, Roma has spoken to the agents of Tyreek George. George is giving his priority to a move to Germany. I think this will be a move to Red Bull Leipzig. Yeah, I think that German club will give him the most in terms of his development. So I think that's a good move for him. Obviously, I do love the player. I do love Tyreek George. Came from Cobham, but I think it's best for his career to move on because I don't really see a pathway for him to come in Chelsea with how young Gittins is, with how young Xavi Simons is, with how young Garnacho is. There's not really much space on that left wing. So, you know, we'll see Tyreek George move somewhere else. Obviously, wish him well, follow his career, but seems like it will be a move to Germany, and I think it will be a move to Red Bull Leipzig. But that is everything. Big news day. Tons in terms of the outgoings. We can expect more in the near future, maybe even today. Um, Maybe even in the coming hours on Carney Chukwuemeka. Anything could happen. And there is actual more news. Fabrizio, I guess, is on his own right now, and says that Nicholas Jackson will probably leave, and then Chelsea are advancing on the personal side with Alejandro Garnacho, obviously discussing personal terms with um with Alejandro Garnacho's camp, and then we'll go in for a deal on Alejandro Garnacho with Manchester United, and then Nicholas Jackson will probably leave. I think that is probably correct. I think he is more likely than not headed out the door. But now that is everything. If y'all did enjoy this video, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, it's Repulse, and I'm out. Peace.